friends. Welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 99. Today is December 1st, 2023, and I'm Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So glad you've joined me today. If you are new to this channel, I hope you find something you like, and if you're a returning person, thanks for coming back. I know that this season begins to get busy, and even I, who my main job right now is watching YouTube videos, it seems, don't have time to watch everything I'd like to. But anyway, let's get into the topic of the day, which is Flosstube, meaning cross stitch, and Variety Show, which is something else. So I piled all these things up. I mean, if you could see this table, it looks like a tornado happened in here, and it's not related to the video. It's just related to the time of year it is. I have some Christmas decorations that need assembling. I have a new smart switch over here that needs to be programmed with the app or something. I have to look into that. There is some mess related to cross stitch, which is because I was trying to find the last threads that I seem to be missing for Under the Roof of Blue Ionian Weather, which I'll show you in a moment. In fact, let me just move this aside and start with that if I can. I'll just start with that. Yeah. Under the Roof of Blue Ionian Weather is charted by Golden Kite, and this is a medium-sized version of it. The painting is by a person, 19th century painter, and he's known for his depiction of marble, actually. And of course, the cross stitch is not going to bring that out, but the painting would. And of course, it's wrinkled. You know, someday this will be finished and flat and in a frame, and I will be able to show it to you properly. But what I've been doing, so I'm over halfway finished. I think I'm 56% finished or something. And I've been trying to fill in all the last little confetti stitches in this rose bush and in this woman and in this woman, and then get down to down here and finish that out so that I can move all the gridding and grid it to the end. And I made quite, I mean, I did 800 stitches since the last time I saw that. I showed you this, which I think that's true. I did 800 stitches in the past month, say. I wanted to get 1,500 stitches, but I was hampered partly by, apparently when I first kitted this up, I didn't have or didn't pull out all of the DMCs I needed. So I spent some time the other night pulling DMC bobbins, which I keep my thread on bobbins, which I've shown you before, 3x5 cards folded in half with little notches cut. I collected all from other projects that are either on hold or finished and just had never been fully put away, back into my general boxes, which I have over there on the counter. And then I went through my list of threads and blends that I needed for this and pulled out about 6 or so that I didn't seem to have. And so I pulled them out. That enabled me to finish up a few stitches in this area that had just been sitting there, because whenever I would see them on Pattern Keeper, oh, these stitches need to be done, let me do those, I would realize I didn't have the thread. That went on for months, so I fixed that. And I feel as if that right there is kickstarting me into being able to keep some better progress on this. Now, will I do much on it in December? I'll talk about that in a little while. But anyway, I can show that to you. I know I haven't shown it as often as I said I would. Now, what else happened? Well, early in the time since I last made a video, which was 2 weeks ago, I finished Mathilde. This is Hands Across the Sea. It's from the Letters from Europe box. And I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. I bought some acid-free foam core board the other day, and I'm going to pin it and then lace it or maybe just, I don't know, maybe just pin it. And hope to, you know, do a nice enough job on that I can go to Michael's or someplace and get a frame. So I don't know what you can see from there in terms of one thing I did is, so there's no place in this that one could put one's own personalized initials, unless one were to put the initials, as I have done before, up in this section in different colors. But I didn't think of that at the time, and at the time I was thinking, oh, this is a pure reproduction. But what I ended up doing was putting my initials in 2023 right there. I think you can see that in a floss that pretty much matches the color of the fabric. So this is 20 count Aida, Just the Ticket by Tabby Cat Linens. And these are two 103s, which I think in the description field, I have the numbers if you're interested. Anyway, that's a finish. I had said that I'm just chomping at the bit to stitch something, you know, to start something when that's finished. And I've decided, well, I think this is okay. If you bought the Words of Wisdom box from Hands Across the Sea and are saving it till Christmas morning to open, then you might want to look away for about, let's say 2 minutes right now. Look away. But I'm going to stitch this. I just love this little verse. And I'm going to just leave it there so you can read it. Pause the video and read it if I'm too fast. I don't want to really read it out loud in case some people are waiting. I've seen it in other places, this verse, so I think it was a thing in the time period. It's not really that big, I would say. What is the stitch count? 175 by 94, but it's all letters except for the few borders. And I feel like this is it's a word of wisdom for us. So I think I'm going to work on that. I haven't picked a thread. They choose, or they suggest, or to match it, to reproduce it, they say DMC 598, which is a light tealish blue color. And I might do it in that color, but I might do it in any color. You could do it in any color. And because it was in the same pile, I'll show you. I bought this little book. So Simone by CDD is the... She was at the Great British Sampler Weekend as a presenter. You know, very lovely person. And I got this book partly because I had met her, so I was interested in it. And of course, it's a bunch of smalls, which is fun and worth having some patterns for. But also, she has very good, it seems, finishing instructions for how to do these different things. So there's a drum, and there's a mattress pillow, and there's a biscornu, and I just thought that was this little needle roll thing. I thought it would be worth having for that reason also, and because these are nice little designs. I believe that she took the designs from a sampler or a few samplers, and this book has Dutch and, thankfully, English in it. So that's good. But it's really nice little designs, and so I'll probably work on that. But even if I didn't, I have the finishing instructions. And I'm happy to support her because she was a presenter. Winter Rose Manor by with Needle and Thread. So it's interesting because Carol on Saltbox Stitcher YouTube channel showed her finish of this recently as a winter/Christmas piece that she has framed. And she mentioned that she used Winter Brew instead of Brenda's Brew. And Winter Brew is a lighter color. So that makes me wish that I had done more research maybe, but it's fine. I did work on this. I worked more on this last border, putting in the diamonds, and I started making the flowers and more stems and leaves up there. I noticed in my book that I mentioned it on several days, but it doesn't seem like I got much done, so I don't know what to say about that. It just happens that way sometimes. Also, these little diamonds in that upper border, it's surprising how long they take, but that's fine. I did spend a few days on Hannah Campbell, Another Hands Across the Sea. I just can't tell you how much I enjoy this. So what did I do? I filled in the border up through this point and extended it a little bit. I still feel like I want to carry it all the way to the other corner to be sure I have enough fabric, but I do. I'm sure I do. And I did the motifs that fit up here, these two trees or whatever in this thing. And I extended that central cartouche-ish thing down, and then I did some more over one letters. The over one letters are really fine. They are fine once you get going. Now, let me just look at my back. Yeah, well, I'll show you the back. I think the back is the hardest thing to figure out because you're trying to fit that thread somewhere. And I don't do pin stitches. I know how to do them. I don't trust them. I would rather have a little bit of thread sticking out and tuck it under another thread. And anyway, so that's what I was working on. These, again, I just really have enjoyed this. Those little over one letters are kind of cool. This is 36 count Ballet slippers by Fox and Rabbit, and this is Soie d'Argent, and I'm using 103s for the over one. Love it. It was hard to make myself not keep working on it. In fact, if we hadn't had the Thanksgiving holiday, I might have forgotten that I should set it aside and do something else. Little book of English samplers. This, oddly, I can't show you the whole thing, so you're just going to have to see it come together as it's created. This is Jane Greenough, and it's, as you may recall if you've seen other videos, it ends up producing a little book that's all made of linen that has stitched covers and stitched pages of different types of samplers on the inside that are types of English samplers. And I had thought, well, I'll do one. There are 12, it happens there are 12 pages, 2 covers and 10 inside pages. So I would do one a month. So the other day I finished the first one, which I did mostly in November, and I started this one, and yes, there is a word missing. It's supposed to say English samplers. So once I finish the word English, those 2 pages will be done. So if I did one a month, I would do another one in January because technically this is a December one. And I, of course, there's a whole month of December. Maybe I can do it. But as I foreshadowed a little while ago, I'll talk right now about what's happening in December. So you may recall back in April or March or something that I committed insanity that was maybe the first insanity of the year, but certainly not the only. And I went ahead and signed up for the Holiday Countdown Stitch Along, Mystery Stitch Along by Everett Tote, with the designer is Modern Folk Embroidery, Jacob DeGraff, I think is how you say his name. And the thread is from Roxy Floss Co. And that started December 1st, which is today. So this year, instead of having the patterns come on 4x6 cards, they're coming on big cards like this, which is really nice. This will be much easier to deal with. Apparently, I've only seen December 1st. There's a nice picture, and then there's some information. There's a today there's a song that Jacob recorded on his YouTube channel. Last year's songs were just amazing. They were very special, and I recommend that you go to Modern Folk Embroidery YouTube channel and just look for the songs from last year. And anybody can watch the songs, the videos that are related to the stitch along. So what you get when you participate in this is you get the pattern, which I'm not going to show the other side because it's just a chart. You get the fabric, you get the floss for that day, and this is really nice dark green. It's called You'll Be Pine. It's Roxy Flossco floss, and a needle minder. And so this is what I've done. I've started doing this. Now, last year's needle minder had an image in it that was related to the design. And so this one, let me get the needle off it. Maybe that's a hint of some aspect of the design. Now, the stitch count on this is 113 by 137, I believe. And this is 18 count Aida in the color Turtle Dove, which is the color of the year. It's a unique fabric for this project. And it's sort of, I would call it brownish, grayish, slight greenish tint to it, I think. I mean, one of the criticisms that they got last year was that the linen color, the linen fabric took the color differently than the Aida fabric did. And some counts of linen took the color differently, the dye, which that's true always, as I understand it. It's not unique to that particular fabric. It happens, which is why if you get a piece of the same named fabric in different counts of linen even, it can look slightly different. Now that to say, the criticism last year was that some of the floss that was chosen did not show up on the fabric. Especially it didn't show up on the Aida, but even one of the counts of linen it didn't show up on very well. And I was irritated by that. I was assured when I emailed them, I emailed them some feedback because I think it's helpful to them, and I was very nice. A lot of compliments and criticism on that score. And I was assured that they understood that was a problem and they were going to make sure that didn't happen again. So we'll see. I have not opened day 2 yet. The rule is to not show on social media. You can open it whenever you want. To not show on social media the contents or the stitching of each day until after noon Eastern time of that day, because she has sold these kits around the world, and some people's day starts at a different time than other people's days. So that's the rule. So even if I had opened day 2, I wouldn't show it, because it ought to be noon tomorrow is why, December 2nd. So I'm gonna do this. Now, it's around 200 to 300 stitches a day, I believe. Last year I couldn't keep up, which is very understandable. This is the holidays. So I might not be able to keep up this year either. But I really am going to try to. I think it is going to be more fun if I do. Last year I did finish it by the end of January though. So that's good. Now, why would I not be able to keep up? Well, partly because it's the holidays, just in general. Also because our friend Anne is coming in roughly, you know, in 10 days or so. And once she comes, we play many more games, and we eat more delicious food. And of course, eating of food, we eat food. It's just not as delicious when she is near. And there's just other things to do. I really should give some thought to Christmas card writing and that sort of thing. So I'm going to focus in the month of December. Now here we're getting into why I might not work on Under the Roof of Blue Ionian Weather or some of these other things in December. I'm going to focus my cross-stitch time in December on that piece to keep it moving and hopefully to keep up. That would be great if I could keep up. I have some sewing projects I'm working on, at least one, which I would like to finish before, well, maybe in a couple weeks, within a couple of weeks, which is going to be a quilted pillow cover pillow for my aunt, which I need to then put in the mail, which is why to finish it. And I have a mending project I'm doing for somebody. I told them I would not have it back to them until January or February. It's a quilt that a favorite great aunt or somebody made that got messed up at a picnic. And she had first talked to me about it and shown me, and then she showed me some pictures, and I said I would be happy to look at it and give her a quote. And it is, so here are the good things about it. Which is kind of weird that I would think this is a good thing, but it's made of 100% nylon or polyester knit fabric in just squares. So it's very clear to see how it goes back together. And amazingly, the damage to it is almost entirely the seams themselves, not the fabric. That just shows you how robust polyester knit from the 70s or so was. It's quite soft and cozy, so I understand from that standpoint why it's a desirable quilt to have finished. It is backed in flannel, and the flannel is torn. It's not knit flannel, it's woven flannel, and it's actually torn, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to manage that. I may use some fusible and just fuse some flannel over the torn parts and then stitch, hand stitch around the edge. All the repair is going to have to be done by hand. And the binding is coming off, which I'm pretty sure that was pre-existing. I don't think that had to do with the damage. Some of the quilting, it was hand quilted. Again, very simple, straightforward quilting, nothing fancy. And that will have to be redone in quite a few places. So it's not a quick fix, but it's an easy fix. It's just a matter of doing it, which, this is football season. Plenty of opportunity to sit still and work on that. So I will be working on that on and off in December. And I have this holiday countdown stitch along that I'm doing that I just showed you. Well, I'm a member of the Fox and Rabbit Patreon, and they're doing a holiday stitch along. And this is the border that they released yesterday or the day before for people to get started on. And I just think that border is beautiful. I said in a comment on the Patreon page that if the border were empty, it would be worth stitching. It's really pretty. So it's not really tempting for this year, but it does remind me that there are a lot of holiday stitch-alongs out there, that Modern Folk Embroidery is not the only game in town. So maybe next year I'll do a different one, or maybe none. That would be something, wouldn't it? So what else? What shall we talk about in the variety show? So I wanted to talk about lemons. I need about 3 more lemons to make that really look nice, but this bowl is pottery. You see that has stars cut in it, made by a friend of mine, Lisa Grauman. And I usually use it to store my coffee my Nespresso pod things, but this time of year, I think it looks beautiful with lemons in it. Blue and yellow is great. So what about lemons? So I realized in thinking about variety shows, I haven't talked about a recipe in quite a while. So I thought I would give you some recipes. I'm not going to put the recipe itself in the description field because they're available online. So it's easy for you to get them without me copying them down. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to talk about three things. So the first thing that I just love, that we love, that I make many years, I make them all year round, not just at Christmas time. They're not specifically Christmassy, in fact, but somehow lemon and Christmas seem to have an association for me. I don't know why. Don't know why. But they are lemon icebox cookies. Or I guess they're called lemonade icebox cookies. And I believe that I first got the recipe out of a cookbook called the Monster Cookie Cookbook that a friend gave me as a gift many years ago. And a lot of the cookies in the cookbook are for giant cookies. You know, how to make a plate size oatmeal cookie with walnuts and chocolate chips or whatever, which obviously that's sort of a gimmick because you can use the same exact recipe and make a normal size cookie and just bake it a different amount of time. But these lemonade icebox cookies are not monster cookies. They're small. They're about this big, I would say, is sort of the ideal size of them. And basically, and you can look online, if you look for a lemonade icebox cookie, you will find several recipes that are practically the same as the ones that I make from that cookbook. And the keys, here are the elements to them. The cookie itself is a shortbread cookie. Some of the recipes have one egg yolk added, and that's going to give a little softness to it. And with lemon zest in it from your lemons. And then they're glazed with a lemon glaze, which is lemon juice and confectioner sugar, that's all. They are outstanding cookies. I glaze mine. The recipes say glaze is optional. Fine, glaze is optional. For me, I always glaze. So that's one thing. Another thing is lemon tart. So we were having people over for dinner and I had forgotten about thinking of a dessert. I thought, well, we could go out to the store and get a carton of ice cream, but that seemed kind of boring and it was a little bit of a special dinner. And so I thought, you know, maybe I can let me just see what I have and what I can come up with. I believe it was summertime, actually. So I saw that I had 3 lemons, and of course I had the usual baking staples, sugar and flour and butter and such. So I looked for lemon dessert. I have searched online for lemon dessert, and I came up with something called the very best lemon tart. I think that's what it was called, or the best lemon tart ever or something. And it was on allrecipes.com, and I've put a link to that recipe, this recipe that I'm talking about, in the description field. And it is the simplest thing you have ever made. It is basically a shortbread cookie crust, which doesn't even have lemon zest in it, just a normal one, has a little vanilla extract. You could leave that out. Yeah, if you're a purist about your shortbread, I think I put it in. It's good. You press it into a tart pan, and then you make the simplest possible lemon filling, which is sugar, eggs, lemonade, lemon zest, and some flour. And it tastes like, it has the brightness of lemon. Very bright, tangy, lemony, perfect dessert. I mean, I'm looking at this bowl of lemons. I have more than I need for lemonade icebox cookies. I might just make that tart because now my mouth is watering. I'm thinking about it. So those are two baking items that use lemons that I think of as special, maybe holiday fare. And the third thing that I do with lemons, it's funny because I make this, but I don't use them. Anne uses them. But since she's coming in a few days, I'm going to ask her if she wants me to make a batch. Is there time? Yeah, they'd be ready about by the 20th or so. Preserved lemons. So what you do, the simplest thing. So what do you use preserved lemons in? Well, you can Google it, find out how to use preserved lemons. I will say that we use it in Mediterranean direction dishes with chicken. I know of some pasta and seafood dishes that have it, that use it. Those are the things I know of that use it. So what you do is you take a lemon and you cut it from pole to pole into sections. Not into sections, but say into a sixth, I would say. And this is a pretty small lemon. I might only cut this into quarters. But if I'm trying to do it quickly, I'd cut it into sixths. And then you take a mason jar and you pack the lemons down, one layer of pieces, and then you put a bunch of salt on, kosher salt. Then you put another layer of pieces and some more salt. And you end up with it's a lot of salt and a lot of lemons. And then, so you pack that all in there so it's as tight as it can be. As you've been pressing, these pieces of lemon have been letting out some of their juices, and you just go ahead and press it a lot to get a fair amount of juice out of them. You're not juicing them. You want the pulp to be intact, but you are allowing the juices to come out. And then a few other lemons that don't fit in the jar, you juice and put lemon juice in until the whole thing is full. Screw on your tight-fitting lid. I use either a pint, wide mouth pint, or a wide mouth or regular mouth quart canning jar. Screw on that lid, and then you turn it at the beginning I turn it twice a day, and I rotate it to get the lemon juice to dissolve that salt. And then you know, put it upside down for half the day, put it right side up for half the day, do this. By the end of it, when it's pretty much ready, I might only turn it once a day. And you can tell that it's ready when, instead of it looking like lemon juice as you turn it, it looks more viscous. It looks more like dishwasher detergent viscosity. So you're letting that salt and acid in there do the magic of preserving the lemons. And then once it's done, once it's at that viscosity, you put it in the refrigerator. If you want to keep turning it, you can, but by that point, it's ready to use. And you take out your pieces that you want to use. Usually the pulp is discarded at that point, and you just use the peel, the rind. And even if you didn't use the preserved lemons, a jar of lemons on your counter is a bright spot. It really is. And then one more thing. We've been decorating for Christmas, and I'll talk more about that some other time. But in so doing, I pulled out this, which is another bright spot. So this is a mason jar, as you see. It's a little dusty. I'll have to dust it. And in it is one of these strings of the fairy lights, the little tiny lights. This happens to be a multicolored string. And I put batteries in this thing, and I turned it on. And, you know, it looks like a jar of, I don't know what. It looks kind of funny. But at night, when your kitchen is otherwise pretty dark, if this is on the counter, it really is very pretty. It's surprising how simple this is. So I just wanted to bring that up as a possible Christmas decoration. You can also use the white lights. That's pretty as well. And if your jar isn't dusty, it really glows even more. I mean, this has sat all year. you know, in the Christmas stuff. So I may actually pull the lights out and wash the jar, put them back to make it shinier. But even if I didn't, it's still very pretty. So that is today's video. I think I covered everything that I intended to cover. You'll find notes in the description field about what I covered and details that I might not have mentioned in case you're curious about something. And next week I will make a video. And I think it will probably be my last Flosstube and variety show of 2023. Also, coincidentally, will be my 100th Flosstube and variety show. I hope you'll tune in for it. Also, on the 12th, Cindy and I are going to make a galloping horse video, galloping horse quilting video. And I don't know, she has some projects to show. I have a few things to talk about, and we'll have a fun time. That's the point of that. I may, between now and next week, I will make a decision about whether I'm going to do a special edition video on my channel that I would post closer to Christmas. And if I do it, I've had it in mind for a few years to do a reading, a special reading. And I think, I don't know, we'll see if I have time and inclination to do it. And we'll see what it is. I have a few ideas. But anyway, that might be coming out before the end of the year. If I do it, it might be, I might post it sometime before Christmas. Anyway, next week for sure. Yes, there will be a video next week, Lord willing. And I hope that you are enjoying the beginning of December, and Advent begins Sunday, that the Advent season will be a nice season of reflection and anticipation. Preparation is why we have the Advent season. I hope you enjoy your stitching. I hope you find time to stitch, do other crafts, and that the preparation for the Christmas holiday will not be overwhelming to you. And I guess that's all for today. So many blessings to you, friends.